Tick, 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 tick. We are live. Sorry, I'm just double checking my config now because I'm concerned because I've broken things before. And yeah, welcome everybody to this week's episode of the AWS Africa Office Hours, where we will take questions and we answer them relating to AWS technical things that you're working on at the moment or having some difficulties with, or just in general AWS questions. Today's going to be slightly different, where we will have our usual banter and talk about random things, but we will also be focusing slightly more, a little bit on containers and just in between chatting about containers. So if you've got any specific container questions, we'll love to hear those today. But before we get into this, I would like to ask my co-host and friend over here to introduce himself, seeing as he's now used the Cyrillic to write his name.
Yes. So I like to confuse people. Hi, everybody. My name is Darko Mesaros, and that's actually what's written here. It's in Serbian Cyrillic, so just to confuse people. And I'm also a developer advocate like Kobus here. I'm based in Berlin, Germany, originally from, well, Serbia. And yeah, I've been working for AWS for 5 years. And you get to see me a lot with this gentleman online, and we tend to banter quite a lot. And I'm happy to be part of AWS Africa Office Hours.
Awesome. Yeah. My name is Chris Bernard, and I just need to quickly, I'm still muted that side. That's good. I am the developer advocate for Sub-Saharan Africa. So you might have seen my face around some of the events and things locally when we still had them, and some of the webinars and things. So let me just quickly double check here. I just want to make sure that everything is up and running over here. Yep, we've got that. Yes, we seem to be good. So for those that have joined us, I see we do have quite a few people online already. Give us a shout out quickly where you are joining from. And remember, just because this is called the Africa Office Hours doesn't mean you have to be in Africa to be able to ask questions. We are happy to take questions from anywhere. And like I said a little bit earlier, is today we're going to be slightly focusing more on containers, but that doesn't block us from talking about other things, like, for example, Elastic Beanstalk and scaling. Because I want to tell Darko about the fun that I had. We're busy building out a demo in a multi-part series on building an application and then taking through the different phases of dealing with scaling and all of that. And my segment was, okay, so we've got our little application up and running. And now all of a sudden there's a huge spike in traffic. And by huge, what I did is I went a little bit overboard. I fired up Apache JMeter and decided that 500 people doing 50,000 connections should be, enough to give this app a little bit of a sweat. Now, granted, the app's not optimized at all, and that's intentional. So we went for a stock standard Ruby application that is not running any kind of web server in the front. It's using Puma, but normally you would want to put something like Nginx. Or HA proxy in front of it, because just in general, how Ruby apps works, that's the default way that you do it. And we didn't, so obviously it's not optimal. And just to make things more fun, we ran it on a T3 instance. So they have CPU credits, and obviously when you start hammering it and it starts spiking the CPU, it broke. So I had a lot of fun now with setting up the scaling, then taking it from that, adding in some, changing the type to some C5 larges. And now the fun part where I think I had some wrangling is like the scaling down, because I'm impatient. So I've been playing this whack-a-mole with Elastic Beanstalk, because I set my scaling rules to scale down once a minute and I wanted it faster. So I went like, okay, terminate the instances to see if it'll behave. And all it does is says, well, no, sorry, we're going to scale up again. We're going to scale down again, up, down. So we're fighting that little fight now at the moment still, but hopefully I'll win in the end.
Well, so and my question here is like, is it the problem of the instances or a badly set up application? Because brute forcing a solution here by just adding more CPU power is, well, not the solution. So
Indeed.
Yeah. So I think it's better to do something else. Yeah.
Indeed. So I am doing module 3, which is on the scaling and the resiliency and some monitoring to see what's up. So I'll take a look at some of the graphs and things and show you where you can figure out what the different metrics and things are. And episode 4 is optimization and cost optimization. So yeah, so my one is literally, how do I just brute force this? We're a startup. We just had an influx of users. Let's just, throw money at it and just make it work. That's what I'm focusing on. I'm not focusing on how do we actually make this profitable for the long run. And that's the whole fun part about the series. So correctly said, you should worry about this. But yeah, it's been an interesting ride.
Interesting.
Lots of fun.
So, dealing with load and this is where kind of a different approach is when it comes to how we do things now and how we used to do things. Is I've had people asking me about, hey, how do I handle vertical scaling? And my always question is here, like, do you need to vertically scale? because
Yeah.
that's kind of the first thing people think of is like, oh, I'll just add more RAM, I'll add more CPUs, okay, but can we do it horizontally? Like it's much more flexible, and
Hmm.
it's well, it's easier to implement than implementing horizontal scaling, because I had people with actual like real concerns like, oh, we need to find a way to horizontally scale. Now, mind you,
Hmm.
there are reasons to horizontally scale. If you run your heavy, Tomcat Java applications that require some, thing on a single host. But I'm just kidding. But most of the times you can get away with horizontal scaling. And the difference here,
Hmm.
the vertical versus horizontal scaling, is that horizontal scaling is adding more instances, more servers, more virtual machines to the cluster to serve your content. And horizontal scaling is the going up. That means you're taking your current existing infrastructure instances and just making them bigger,
Hmm.
which is more complex than you would think.
No, definitely, indeed. Because I mean, especially the problem with vertical scaling is that at some point you're going to hit that ceiling. Like the servers only go so big. I
Okay.
remember
Yeah.
years ago working on they referred to it as a SQL Superdome, which was I think it might have even been custom built because it was one of the largest SQL servers at
Okay.
that point, not publicly known, but it had 128 cores and I can't remember how much memory, but an insane amount. Now this is like many years ago, so at that time that was like, wow, that's quite impressive. And the problem then is like if it can no longer serve the traffic, you're screwed because there's
Yeah.
nothing faster. You have to re-architect or do something, and that's where horizontal scaling comes in.
Yeah, I remember the time that I've seen a web server that was like, a couple of hundreds of gigabytes of RAM on a web server, a single box.
Oh
And
yeah.
back then it was like, oh, well, you need to handle the load.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I think you get to different bottlenecks on horizontal scaling. You approach different types of bottlenecks on horizontal scaling than you do on horizontal. Sorry, on vertical scaling than you do on horizontal scaling, right? So,
Hmm.
um, when you just vertical scale, you can well, you can hit stuff like disk I/O, network I/O, just general throughput problems that rather than just CPU and memory. So,
Oh
it's
yeah.
important to spread it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, also if you look at where the world is moving with, for example, containers and
Hmm.
serverless, it's everything is how do I run more things in parallel
Yeah.
instead of running something on a big box.
Yeah.
And I know specifically with containers, that's one of the fun like game. Well, it's not quite a game. I view it as a game, but like capacity management and capacity planning, because that's also like, especially with spiky workloads, like how do I prepare for them? How do I, be able to handle that when it comes through? Because normally the challenge is scaling down is easy. You see the traffic
Yeah.
going down, you take away what you don't need. Scaling, well, there are some fun challenges which we can get into with containers around that. But I mean, scaling up is the how quickly do you need to scale? Because you don't want to over provision and
Yeah.
waste money, but you don't want to, be under provisioned and, customers are going, sorry, your site's broken. I'm never coming back.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. So I think, and also like, this is where, have you ever had this chance or had this discussion with people? Is like, how can I prevent from AWS from creating more resources due to cost? So I had this discussion with customers,
Yes.
especially like smaller customers, like, oh, I want AWS to stop everything once I reach $2,000 a month.
Oh, wow.
And initially you just think like, oh, well, yeah, you don't want to overspend, but then you think like, oh, that's bad. No, why? Like because I get it. It can get more expensive and it might hurt your
Yep.
bottom line. But stopping production, stopping the thing that makes you money is is a real big problem. So when it comes to scaling, you need to be able to anticipate. Of course, it's very difficult to anticipate. You get this Twitter hug of death or something like that, right?
Oh,
When
yeah.
everybody hears about you and starts visiting your platform and website, and that's amazing. That's a great problem to have. But a solution to that is not just stopping because it's going to cost you money. You try to earn money
Mhm.
from that. So and this
No,
is where maybe
definitely.
maybe optimizing those costs by using something like spot instances or reserved instances is a really great way to do it rather than just
Mm.
stopping everything. um,
Yeah.
it's good
No, I
to
was
get
actually trying
notified,
to.
but yeah.
Yeah, and I was actually trying to look there. There was a. Let me just quickly see. I'm 99% certain I saw it scroll past here in our releases.
Okay.
So for those that don't know, we also have just the same RSS feed as you do
Yeah.
for when things come past in terms of new features. So I should see if I can
Wait,
find.
you don't have that internal tool that allows you to choose which service is going to be launched first. That you can kind of like, you don't have access to that. Oh, did I spill the beans?
No. No. Let me just have a look here. I might. Okay, no, I can't. I might be not thinking about something. I was certain I saw something along those lines, but let me not say something unless it's something that I'm not supposed to talk about,
Okay.
because we are in this fun state of this is the first time this year I can honestly say that I know. Well, let me rephrase. The second time this year, I can honestly say that I know services that are about to come out because of reInvent that's coming.
Me too. Yeah.
Because we're busy prepping some of the launch events and things around that, and I'm involved with a number of them, specifically actually on containers. So there is some fun coming. But the first time having been that I knew when the Cape Town region was going to go live, but obviously we do not say that up front. So that was quite a fun one. I was like literally sitting here. And for those that have actually watched the YouTube video that I put online about how to actually enable the region, you'll see that the audio is completely out of sync with the thing. Like, and not like about by 5 or 10 seconds or 20 seconds. And the reason for that is that on the day that launched, I knew it was launching, so I got up at 4 a.m. to record that video. And then the video edit that I use is if you use delete instead of cut, what it does is actually shifts some parts of things sideways, like instead of just making a gap. And I did that without noticing. Yeah. Yeah. So basically what ended up happening is that in my rush, I was like, oh, I want to get this video out by, and ready for 9. So I was like, did everything uploaded, wait for YouTube to process it. And then at 9, just click publish without even watching it once because I was half, asleep.
I was very careful with DaVinci because DaVinci, the video editor, causes problems sometimes when you cut bad. So I'm always like very, very careful when I cut and make something very complex. I usually try to do my video in one go, so I don't have to cut. But sometimes you have to.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very good with it now. It's like I've realized how it works, and I kind of understand it. I don't agree with it, but I kind of understand why they did it that way.
Okay.
So, but we have our first question, which is from Rurik's World, which is I got an unexpected bill, a few cents, for keys from AWS KMS. Where to look for these keys and how to manage them. Now, KMS keys are in. If I remember correctly, they should be under your IAM console. I can actually wait. Let me actually do it. Give me a second. I can.
Console by itself. So for some reason,
I want to say it's. I think
there's no.
There's my
ACM.
brain.
There's the ACM.
Yeah, so there's no KMS. KMS falls under IAM, from what I remember. It's the reason why we can't remember. We tend to just access it via APIs and infrastructure as code. So clicking the console is sometimes a fun one. So let me just quickly log in here. But I can show you. I will log into the console and we can go look. So just off the bat, what I would do is I would use the what do you call it? CLI. Maybe do some calls to say get all the keys, list them. There's definitely a call for that. And then let me just quickly let me pop it on the screen. Give me a second. Share screen. I want to share that screen. Show. Cool. Ooh, that's a little bit small. Interesting. This looks a little bit different than normal. Yeah. I'll go figure out how it works later. Roles policy. I don't see KMS. Let's see. KMS. Ooh, wrong keys. KMS. Key management server. Yes, it does actually have its own section.
There we go.
Cool. Let's take a look over here. Let's just see AWS managed keys. So here's the thing.
AWS managed keys should be free, right? You should not be paying for AWS.
No, they're free.
Not at all. Yeah.
So you can see the keys over here, but you can see that it's regional. So if I go, for example, to Cape Town, let's just say backup is 3A BC. Oh, I haven't enabled Cape Town in this one. Let's just click on that because I'll probably need that at some point. No, I have to. There we go. Enable.
I don't think it will work like this. Will it work? No.
I don't have permission. Oh, you have to be the root user. I forgot.
You have to do it with your thing.
Yeah. So sorry about that. Yeah. But so what I would recommend is literally just go and run a query against all the different regions with the CLI to see what's up, because that should be able to tell you what it is. And actually, what we can do for that is let's go to Cloud9. Fairly certain I've got a Cloud9 IDE over here while we wait for some more questions to come in.
We look like some random
yeah.
I would imagine there's a lot of bald, bearded, big guys out there. So and we tend to look alike. So I know that somebody was telling me we look like the guys from what is the name of the Casa de Papel, the TV show on Netflix, where there's two guys,
Mm.
big guys, and they're Serbian as well. So
No, it's I've had that as well before. Where I was actually when I joined AWS, I went to what we've got an internal training program called Accelerate, where it's a 3-day intensive course on learning about a whole bunch of different things. And part of that is you introduce yourself. And there was me, and then there's this other guy who's this much taller than me.
yeah.
He doesn't even have the same shape beard, as in I can understand. Yes, he's got a beard, but there are big differences between the two. Oh, my disk space is running out of this space. We can fix that now. And people kept confusing the two of us, and I'm like,
Of course.
have you seen us next to each other? There's like literally, yes, it's like saying, sure, you've got eyes. You also have eyes. Yeah, you're the same person. But yeah. Yeah, amusing. Okay, let me just quickly check what we have going on here in disk space. I've got 200 megs left. I don't have to fix that right now. Just not to worry about it. Cool, AWS.
That's my main gripe with Cloud9. You get 8 gigs of storage, and if you want to do anything with containers, that's a problem.
Yeah. Cool. So quickly, Rudik's World. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to just show you. So I'm on the Cloud9 instance. This just allows me to run the AWS CLI easily and quickly. And what I can see over here is that let's see the KMS message. Let's have a look at what the different functions are. Boom, boom, boom. Encrypt, decrypt. There should be a describe. System key source, describe key. There should be a list key in here. I'm used to seeing like a list key of some kind. So let's just search. There we go. List keys. Okay, cool. So let's just quit. Sorry, I just need to. There we go. List keys. Now, if I run this, what I can see over here is a whole bunch of different keys. Now, so these keys don't really tell me that much. I wonder if there's a way to easily see if there are AWS keys or not.
But
we'll have to describe them apart.
You're trying to look at non-managed keys, or
yes.
Well, wouldn't you be able to do it from the console if you click on if you go to KMS, and there's like self-managed keys on the left-hand side. So customer managed keys. There's no customer managed keys here, right?
Okay. Oh, good point. Yeah. But what would be nice is just to be able to do this on the API, because basically, Rudik's World, what you can do now is you can do this and literally go, you'll have to click through all of these. So what I was hoping there is that can't we maybe just easily use the CLI to do it for us? But that's roughly how you would do it. There's probably, if I have to go AWS CLI, KMS, lists, custom keys. Let's just see what it says. List keys. There might be some... There's probably a flag for it. I would expect there to be a flag. The usual ones, no, it doesn't actually have it. Oh, that sucks.
Sometimes the API, the CLI doesn't do good. If you most likely if you do something more intelligent with the SDK, that would be. But here the only thing you can have is the RN, and there's no way to compare it to what it is. So I think it would end up for you manually checking out all the keys.
Yeah. Let's just see, maybe.
But wouldn't the billing console help you out in there, like the Cost Explorer, show you like where it's coming from? I mean,
yeah, it should be.
Is a great way to do it. So
you should at least be able to see where the region is that it's coming from. Let's actually do that quickly. Can I jump to it directly? I should be able to. Cost Explorer. So you might see some very rough numbers here now. I'm trying to think what demo. Oh, I did a Redshift demo yesterday, so there will be a nice big spike. Yeah, there we go.
Well,
this week,
that's from when you forgot to do something, I guess.
Oh no. Okay, so this is the whole month. So I've had multiple things. I spun up 50 M5 or C5 instances as part of a scaling demo. I forgot them for a day. Luckily, only for a day. And I spun up. Jeepers, I've actually did quite a lot here. Well, let's actually go look. Let's go see what we did there. But if we want to do, what you can do is, where's Cost Explorer?
Go scroll up.
There we go. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Cost Explorer. Cool. So yeah, you can. Oh, okay. Yeah. Next. Skip. Sorry, this is the first time I've actually clicked on it.
Rudik's actually found the key. Found the region of the key. It says ID, stack set, infrastructure. So stack set is something to do with CloudFormation. So check out one of the CloudFormation stack sets that it's not creating those things, right?
Yeah. Or when you did delete the stack, it might have left it behind because
Yeah,
it's there's certain resources that because you don't want to lose them, like a database or S3 bucket with files and things in it. They don't get deleted when you delete the stack. And this is one of those because obviously if you don't have this key, the data is lost.
correct.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, yeah, you can actually see here like September. Oh, I've got a full bill of $66. Ouch. And it's RDS. And let's see what the second one is. EC2 instances. Yep, I've launched quite a few of those. Yep. This all makes sense. So yeah, interesting. My Redshift cluster, because it was only up for I think an hour when I basically spun it up. Did our session yesterday and then deleted it immediately afterwards. So that doesn't even feature here, which is nice.
yeah.
But that was a fat cluster. It was I think $400 a month if you leave it running. So
Well,
nice.
if it's just
Cool.
one day or a couple of hours, it should not affect a lot. So you get to try.
Awesome. I see we've got a couple of more people that have joined the session now, or show now since we started. So this is the AWS Africa Office Hours where we attempt to answer your questions. But two things. One, they're not limited just to AWS technical questions. You can also ask us AWS questions or career questions or how did we get here questions. And also it's not limited to Africa. We welcome questions from anywhere. We kind of focus on people from Africa at the moment in terms of our customers here, but we just answer questions. So please send them our ways. Here is a question. There we go. Help me to configure a Lambda to trigger after receiving an email on SES from a specific email address. What's the bare minimum that I have to configure? So here I would say is just if you can give us a little bit more info. Is the SES configuration or setup on your account? Because what you could do is there are ways you can actually get hold of the event that triggered SES when the mail was sent. That would probably be the easiest way because from SES you can go to an SNS topic and then from there you can just trigger Lambda directly from the SNS topic. Alternatively, if it's not inside your account, you'll probably have to figure out something how to set up something that triggers on emails, which means you'll have to set up some kind of mail client that at least processes the mail, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I'm just looking now. What is the can SES be used for Lambda invocation at all? Like can SES be a trigger source for Lambda? I'm not really sure it can. Let me have a look at it. So if that is at all possible or not. So because like I know that you can do like basic things like SNS and SQS, those kind of things. Those can be the triggers for the Lambda functions, but SES per se, not really sure about that. So I'm just currently opening my Lambda console to see if this is at all possible to do. I mean, you might, if it's not possible to do directly, you might be able to do it with some other way, some other trigger to be present. So let me have a look. So the official triggers are not, there's no SES in the official triggers, right? So you cannot have an official SES trigger on this one. That being said, let's see what we can do with SES. So SES, you can basically, you can create rules, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to look
so
here
here's the thing.
in Eventbridge. Huh?
So there is you can create a rule set on SES. So let me actually share my screen. Maybe that would make more sense. Share screen, share the window, this thing. So you can actually set up receiver rules on SES. Basically a receive rule. Depending on what happens, you can actually call a custom code via Lambda function. You can create a receive rule that depending on which message you receive, you can actually trigger a Lambda function from this directly. So it's not a direct trigger on Lambda, but you can apparently do it like this. Now you can specify, from darko@cobus.com like that. And let's see what else we can do. Next step, add an action type. We can trigger a Lambda function, right? We can invoke an event. Basically, can we evoke? Yeah, so we have to create a topic, SNS topic. So it's kind of a combination of the things. So I specify, for example, a Lambda function here. I pass it an event. Now, what kind of event is going to happen? I can I don't have to do anything here, but I believe it passes on information. I believe as an event, it passes on the email body and all the information from it. And then basically it will trigger that Lambda function and do something with it. So that would be the great opportunity here, I guess. Let us know, Adam, if this is something that you were trying to do.
Okay.
The
next question.
That's for me.
Yes, I'm assuming. What's the yerba?
Yerba mate. I guess it's pronounced yerba. I'm not sure. Yerba mate is this South American plant. It's like a leafy plant that
Okay.
that you dry out the leaves, and it kind of looks like tea, but you put it in a cup with warm water, and you drink it from a special straw. And I bought it because it has a lot of caffeine, and I like the taste of yerba mate. I drink like the soft drink version of yerba mate here in Germany, very popular.
Okay.
And I decided, like, okay, let me try to try the official South American thing, because I had a lot of colleagues working with me in premium support from Argentina and Chile, and I saw them drinking that. I'm like, I'm gonna try it. It's bitter as crazy. Like, it's really bitter initially. I like that, but it's sometimes too bitter. So I'm trying to get used to it a bit more. But it is really nice. I do enjoy the taste. So I will be continuing to drink it. And Marcia told me, like, why did you buy the Argentinian one? You should buy the Uruguayan one. So now I have to buy the Uruguayan yerba mate.
So for those wondering what Darko does when life becomes too sweet.
Exactly. Just drinking yerba mate.
Cool. Okay, we've got a follow-up question. Basically, yes, but what do I have to configure to actually be able to receive mail in SES? I actually don't know.
So I've never set that. You should be able to do that. Once you have an email address, right? You basically you create a domain, and I believe you can create an email address. But to be honest, I've never set that up. Like, I'll be perfectly honest that I have never set up an SES thing.
Actually, let me pop this on screen quickly. Yeah. There's actually, I see here in the documentation, there's definitely a section there that describes how to set up receiving mail, some concepts. Let's have a look at the getting started quickly before you begin. Sign up, blah 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 blah.
You need a rule. You need to set up a rule. So okay, you need to set up a rule. So it will not receive emails unless you set up a rule. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so you can see it over here, and it's test email, view the email. Yeah. Let's see what the view email is. Okay. Are you actually going to look at it in S3 bucket?
Yeah, exactly. One of the rules you can do is you can move the email that you receive straight through S3 and then do something with it, right? So yeah, you need a valid domain, as Yakovlev here says. You need a valid domain, verified, to work. And also, mind you, SES has limitations initially. Of course, you cannot go ahead and spam emails and all those things. So if you get like throttled when it comes to sending emails, reach out to premium support and have them look at it. So
okay, cool. That's actually an interesting point, because in theory, if you set this up, instead of the way that Darko showed you when you send out the mail and add the action to Lambda, you could set up the S3 bucket to create an SNS notification and have Lambda trigger off that when the email is written to the S3 bucket.
You don't even have to set up an SNS notification. S3 buckets can be a trigger for Lambda functions. So if it's created in an S3 bucket, you can actually trigger a Lambda function directly. So that's one thing. This requires you to save that email. When you trigger a Lambda function directly, you don't save that email anywhere. You just pass it on to a Lambda function, and then Lambda does
okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, yeah. Sweet. We have another question here, this time serverless. Hello, how can I add environment variables across all of my Lambda functions in Amplify? So that's a tougher one.
So there's no way to kind of apply a overall overarching environment variable for your Lambda functions, right? That doesn't exist, right? One of the things you can achieve here is using something like AWS app config, right? If you want to store configuration items, or even using just parameter store, you can instead of having those environment variables as just environment variables, you can have them as part of a app config or a parameter store and just request them there. So to change those things globally, you just change them in a central location like parameter store or app config. And then you don't even have to worry about environment variables at all. So that would be the better approach here.
Yeah, I mean, because parameter store can actually pull them when it's when the app starts up, or at whatever interval makes sense to you.
Exactly.
It's simple.
your Lambda function is triggered, and then it just pulls up the parameter or the value from a central location, and that you're good to go.
So just quickly, can you just repeat that official sound that it makes when it pulls that variable? Because I'm very interested.
You didn't hear that? That's the official sound. They have a crank that pulls the.
Oh man.
So how to make the AWS console more annoying? Introduce button click sounds.
Oh,
You remember
yes.
like Windows 98 and like the old Windows when you would apply themes? You click
And
a
when
button,
it's
something wishes.
yeah, and the windows maximizing and minimizing. Oh, speaking of that, quickly, complete segue. Way back in the day when I was running Gen 2, and KDE is desktop, I think with KDE 4 that came out, because that's one of the new ones. There was a new window browser. I can't remember what it was, but it allows you to apply OpenGL effects to your windows. And the one was a jelly effect where you took your window and you could shake it and it goes. And I kid you not, that kept me busy for I think 30 minutes. But me just going like, wow, this is cool. Look at all the effects. Look at the physics, like slowly, fast. It didn't have the ability to throw it and like bounce it off the side of the window. That would have been fun, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
When I was young in like high school, and this thing came out. I can't recall what the name of it was, but you get these desktop effects where you can have Linux and it will flip like a desktop. If you switch the desktop, like a 3D cube will pop up and switch. And I was like blown away by it. And I didn't know a lot of things about the computers back then. So I had my only computer in the home, like it was my Windows XP PC, and I decided to install this. And somebody told me this feature only exists on Solaris. So Compiz, Compiz, but Compiz is like a compositor, and Compiz had those effects. Yes, you're right. Yeah. So a friend of mine told me, oh, you can do it only on Solaris, of all things on Solaris. Okay. I obtained a copy of Solaris somehow. I don't even recall how, because no internet back then, or like very slow internet back then. And I tried to dual boot my Windows XP PC with Solaris. Mind you, had zero experience on how that works. So I ended up breaking my partition table and losing all my data. I still remember that day. So yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
What we do for fancy effects.
Well, it's that time when you're like, okay, let's learn, let's just nuke it. It's fun. I quickly want to step away for a second because I really want to get this prop that I had here. I cleaned up my man cave this weekend, and I found something fun that I want to use as a
prop.
Yes.
We all need props. That's what makes the world go round. Yeah. Oh, by the way, while Kovas is not here, let me show something. First of all, I want to share a video I made this morning. I've spent a whole 15 minutes on it. I'll put in money, but also I want to advertise my session upcoming next week. So the 27th of October, 27th to the 28th of October, there is this thing called AWS Resiliency and Chaos Engineering online sessions. So across 2 days, a bunch of my colleagues and myself are going to be delivering talks about resiliency, chaos engineering, and all that very fancy stuff. So if you want to make sure that your code goes into production safely and tested, do check out do register for that event. And now it's going to be in the different time zone, in Australia time zone. So there might be some people here who can still attend, but if you cannot attend, if you register, you're going to receive the recordings anyway. So I'm going to post a link to my Twitter post just because I want to show you my video. I've used this old monitor, a very old communist PC, or not PC, a computer, to do a video sketch. So, Kobus, show us your problem.
Awesome. I will, but first let's answer the question because we are here to help our users first and foremost. So about the environment variable piece, in which file? So you're not going to add it to a file itself, other than so in your Lambdas functions, what you want to do is you make sure that you've got the AWS SDK built in, and there are. Let me quickly see if I can pull it up here. What language are you doing your Lambda functions in? If you can pop that, then I can quickly do a search and show you what the SDK call would look like. Because what you want to do is you want to make use of, let's say, simplest way possible is go to parameter store and create an entry there. So let me show you that part first. So we're going to go to parameter store,
parameter
store is now under Systems Manager, I believe. There was a section
under Systems Manager if you scroll down. So
boom, 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 boom.
What?
And it moved.
Had it moved? Scroll up. I think there you go. Application Management, Parameter Store, under App Config, where your cursor is.
Sorry, I'm a bit slow today. Cool. So systems parameter, you go create parameter, and then you give it some kind of name. Now, I would highly recommend you do a path. So let's do something like apps/my app slash my config, for lack of a value over here. Config for my app. Hey, naming is hard. Don't judge me. So we're just going to go with standard. We're going to go with a string. You can also do different types, like a string list or an encrypted string if it's sensitive. If you've got a password you want to pass in, definitely use secure string, because then it's encrypted. And then it's the data type is text. So in our case, what we're going to give it a value is some value like this. Now what you go to do is you go ahead and create that parameter. Now what you need to do is AWS SDK, Node.js, parameter store. Let's just jump into that quickly. This looks about right. SSM is the systems manager. So what you can see over here is, what do we have? So first you get the SSM object, and then you'll probably have to do, let's see, all the methods. It'll be a get. Ooh, oh, no, I'll waste my time here. Get parameter. Here we go. Boop. So you can see over here is once you've instantiated that SSM object, you can do over here SSM get parameter, and this is how you do the error code handling. And the params will be the name over here. So that, as you can see, is required. And what that required is the value that you specified over here, the name. So that'll be that is the name. That's /app/my app/my config. Now, the reason we have that path in the front is that there are also tools available where you can do bulk pulling of all the parameters in there, and then you can turn them automatically into environment variables. So instead of doing, let's say, my config, you can create a parameter with a name like apps, my app, let's say my config. And then what this will do is, I'm just typing over here to show you what it'll do. It can turn it into environment variable like that. If I can type, sorry, there's a mic in the way. You can type around it and it'll turn it into an environment variable like that for you, based on the path itself, actually. So that'll probably be the easiest to do. So what I'll do is I'll paste, let me paste this here in the chat for you as well, so you can grab it from there. Cool. Let us know if that helps, please.
Would be definitely the better architected way to do it, because again, it's very easy to centrally manage your environment variables. Now, this is not an environment variable. You cannot get it from the standard way you get environment variables in Java. In JavaScript, you actually have to request it from parameter store. Now, again, it's a one layer of complexity, but in this way you can actually centrally manage all those parameters or environment variables for your Lambda functions. So this would be definitely the better way to do it.
Apologies, don't breathe in water. So my problem.
Step one of
I
surviving.
3D printed. Yeah, I 3D printed a save icon for those who don't know, and
it's the Windows 95 one. Oh man, love it.
Yes, but this is not the original, because Windows 95 you could install with 25 disks, and I know there was a copy at some point somewhere. No longer have that, and I spoke to my dad this weekend, and he recently threw out a whole bunch of stiffy disks and floppy disks. I'm like, come on, I still need to get a couple of floppy disks. But yeah, so I found this one. This is the boot disk for the CD-ROM, because you couldn't boot the CD-ROM directly. You had to use something to be able to run from there. I've got that one. I even have an app here that I see, if you look closely, that is for Windows. Wait for it. 3.x, so 3.11 or 3.1. And the other one, and I'm certain most people would have had one of these at some point in their life. Genius mouse mate, yeah. Genius mouse drivers, yeah. They were like basically the only mouse that I think was available at that point, something, because every single person I knew at least had a Genius mouse.
I think I have one of those floppy disks somewhere. I have a big old box of disks somewhere, and I'm pretty sure that somebody gave me one of those as well. So,
also, Docker can give you a little bit of bad news. You at the back of your head, there's a little strip about this wide that
Yeah,
you're
I know,
shaving.
I know. I noticed this morning. So I was doing my hair last night, and my wife this morning was like, "You missed a spot." So yeah, I know.
Did you miss it, or are you busy with a top knot or a mohawk?
I missed it. I don't think I can make a top knot. Well, no.
Oh.
There's not enough things growing.
No, it's Jeepers. You'll appreciate this. So a few years back, so my hair started like up here going. So I shave my head at the moment, which is why you can see no hair. It's a choice, okay. And a few years back, at some point, it was like holiday or something. I was lazy and I didn't shave for like a week or two. And I just casually asked my wife, "Hey, what do you think? Should I grow my hair out again?" The answer wasn't yes. The answer wasn't no. The answer was, "Can you?"
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, here's a fun one from Rudik's World. Also, please, people, keep the questions coming. If you feel this is entertaining, I do see our viewer count has gone up a little bit. We are here to answer any technical questions, AWS questions, career questions, or like we're currently doing, random tech questions and completely non-AWS tech related for the moment. But please send the questions and we're here to help you. Otherwise, we will try and keep you entertained at least with various things. And Dark is about to whip out a
MacBook, a Power PC, or actually, this is a
Ooh.
PowerBook G4. It runs Mac OS 9.2, I believe, on it. It still works. It can connect to the internet, and I can tweet from it if you want. But it's not the only G Mac I have or Power PC. I have a iMac G5, the standing one. It's behind my little rack. So I have a couple of old Macs. Just for I figured why do I have these things? Like I have literally no use for them. It's just for clout, just for show. But when I was a kid, this came out in 2002, I think. This would be the thing. This would be like everything I wanted at that time. I couldn't have it because what?
Money.
And money. And now like this thing is and like if you look at Apple back in 2002, so this is a PC from 2002 or 2001. It had a 1650 by 1080 resolution or 1050 resolution. So it had a massive resolution for that time. This was an amazing laptop. Like it had all the ports, all the connectivity. It was just like the stuff, right? And well, things have changed. So yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah. And I'm happy to see Apple make its own silicon. Like I am always pro more platforms. I don't wish it to be too diverse because the problem then comes in. You have to kind of funnel into one direction if you want to use a specific software, and I don't like that, right? If Mac silicon is going to make Macs better, less prone to heating, faster, all for it. So yeah,
definitely. Quick, we've got a follow-up question from Hismi, but before that, just quickly, morning, Rakagmi. How do you pronounce it? Maybe give us some hints. But yeah, welcome. I know it's nice and early that side. So I'm assuming you're more west. And the follow-up question is, I've got a Lambda function and I'll add data to add to my Dynamo or Neptune DB to fly the crown for security group subnets. Yes, doesn't work. So there could be a couple of things here. The first place I would look is how did you deploy your Lambda function? Is it deployed inside the VPC or not? Because by default, unless you specify VPC for your Lambda functions, they're actually deployed in a completely different account, which means that they are outside of your VPC network, so they don't have access to your Neptune DB inside of your account. So that's the first thing I would check. If that is not the case, then and the Lambda function is inside of your VPC, then what I would look at is maybe the routing rules, but we can dig into that. So let us know if it's actually inside the VPC or not, because that'll be the first place to start looking.
Yeah.
Doc, you're looking very naughty. What are you doing?
No, nothing. I just have somebody pinging me about some other things. Completely, somebody showing me that they have passed their CIS Center for Internet Security like test in their account, that it's fully 100%. They're like really proud of that. So I'm congratulating them because it's great. So
awesome. Here's a fun question. Can we use AWS's remote PC service? So I think with a little bit of more info, yes. And there's a very, very, very big it depends there. I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of two ways. One is fire up an EC2 instance that's running Windows, and you connect with RDP to it, and you use it as is, or
if you were talking about managing multiple PCs and setting them up, you can always use AWS Systems Manager to set up the thing, right? So I'm actually managing my local bunch of servers I have at home through Systems Manager, so I can access them remotely from wherever, and I can push on configurations to them remotely. So if you're talking about that, like managing PCs as a PC service, absolutely. But if you want to run it your own PC, yeah, EC2 or Workspace.
Well, Workspace is the other one, which is a fully managed Windows, workspace service that allows you to pre-build the images. You can connect it to a domain controllers for specific access. Instances shut down and start up as people are using them, etc. And the native clients for it locally. And actually, it uses it's not the straight RDP protocol. There's something you actually have to use the desktop client that we provide for it.
over IP. PC over IP. So it uses that as a protocol for workspaces, and they're actually testing it right now with something completely else, something completely new. Should be much better. So I'm not really sure what it is. But PC over IP is a very efficient protocol, right? Running it really like on thin clients just works. So I find it very good.
Awesome. Let me have a look over here. Okay. We're up with the questions. So please, let us know what questions you want us to tackle. We were going to be trying to focusing on containers today, but as you can see, we are very easily derailed and squirreled, especially if you ask us about fun tech and fun toys and things. I must confess, there's one thing that I've recently discovered that makes me... So by default, I don't need a lot of Raspberry Pis at the moment. I already have too many servers in my house. I mean, I showed it on previous streamers. I've got 2, 4, 6, 7... I think I've got 17 old 3.5-inch hard drive that I still need to work through to see what data is on them, what needs to be salvaged and cleaned up. 2 of them are dead because of clusters and things around. So I've got too much hardware. I've got like 3 or 4 Raspberry Pis running various things. I've got 4 servers running. To put it in context, I've currently got 17 of my 24 managed switch ports full. But I did see that the Raspberry Pi 4, let me quickly get it on the screen because it looks darker. You will love it. Do you know the Raspberry Pi compute units?
Yeah, I saw those little things you can purchase.
Yes. There we go. This compute module, I think this is the one. Yes. So there's a little credit card sized one Raspberry Pi and you can get it with 8 gigs of RAM, which is just like,
it's very.
I think it's at 8.
I think you need a platform for it. I think to work with it. I mean, unless you're just gonna have it run through Wi-Fi, you need to solder on like power to it because there's no ports on it whatsoever. So you need to have a way to configure those things on it. But there's this like you can buy this motherboard like where you can plug in these cards and it works really good.
Yeah. No, it's just like this is just like me like. The inner electronics geek in me going like.
I still have my Raspberry Pi cluster. I've actually set it up really nicely like this. It's currently unplugged, but it's all nicely laid out in a switch, which I hope to make a small like a cluster with. These are Raspberry Pi 1s, by the way, so it's very low power. But I just want to play with this at one point. I have not had a chance to dig into this, but I like the way it looks at least. It's a piece on my desk.
Cool. Follow-up question from Bisme is how to deploy the Amplify app inside the VPC. Now, that's an interesting question. I actually don't know that answer. Let me see quickly.
I think there's no way to do it. There's currently an issue open. So apparently, looking at there's a GitHub issue open on it. So it's not currently resolved. Looking at this thing, yeah. So there is no way to do it.
No way to do it cleanly at the moment. Yeah, this is an interesting question, though. It does raise an interesting point.
Denny, it depends on really, hey, maybe if they want to deploy the Lambda functions in a VPC, there's a valid reason for doing that. So some people need to run their Lambda functions within a VPC so they can access resources within that VPC themselves, not over the internet, right? So that's one thing that's happening here. I guess
Yeah,
that's the
just looking
solution.
over
That's
here.
the thing you were asking about Beesme.
Awesome. Cool. Let's just see if there are. Here we go. Fun question over the internet. Oh yes, Darko, please. This is so in your realm of things that you're currently doing.
Aditya. That's the part of the name I can pronounce. Aditya. So when it comes to maintaining Raspberry Pis remotely, one of the simplest ways to do it is to use something like if you're using AWS, right? Now you can make all the things when it comes to like managing your Raspberry Pis through like public DNS and having SSH access to them. That can be problematic, right? So one of the things I have here, let me try to demonstrate it actually, if it works, because mind you, this is not a Raspberry Pi, but it's the same thing. So one thing you can do is you can actually use AWS Systems Manager. So Systems Manager is a lovely little service that offers a lot of things. One of the things it offers, it's an agent that runs on an instance. Now, usually you would run it on an EC2 instance, but you can actually run it on anything you want, right? I run Systems Manager on a Raspberry Pi. I run it on my little Intel server here I have, and I can manage it myself, right? So if you see the screen here, let me just remove your question here. This instance, like that. This instance here, MI whatever, it's a managed instance. It's actually a Debian Linux running on that Intel little server I have, like Intel NUC. And it's actually being managed by Systems Manager. What does that in essence mean is I can apply, for example, some actions on it. I can run an Ansible playbook on it. I can even run a chef cookbook remotely from this one. But also it means that I can connect to it using Session Manager. Session Manager is a great way to kind of start a session to an instance. So for example, I have them connecting it here, start session, and well, bam, in a couple of seconds, you should be able to see I am connected at my home Intel NUC. So if I do, I don't know, we move here and I have IP address, you will see that it is actually running, where is it? A local IP address here in my home. So if I do docker ps, sudo su docker ps, you will see that I have two containers here, like my home assistant running on it and my Pi-hole. So, and I'm currently accessing it from my home, right? But this is going through the internet to my home. So even if I was somewhere away, somewhere far away, I can still work with this. And if you want like a better example of this, is, I'm not sure if I have this set up right now. Let's actually try it out. So stopping sharing. I want to show you something more, but I'm not sure if this is configured. So let's actually, one of the things I can do is I can use the AWS CLI or Session Manager to connect to it. So if I do AWS SSM, there is a way for me to connect to the system, to this instance, where there's a way to connect to the EC2 instance through the CLI. Now that enables you just to SSH into an instance, fine, but also you can forward ports. So if you have like a web service running on it, you can actually forward those ports locally and access it like that. So even you can do it with Windows if you have RDP, or if you have like a specific instance or like a web server running on it, you can do it. You can do that. So cool. Start. How do you do session manager like that? Would this be AWS SSM? It's not session manager. I forgot. Yeah. So there is a way to do it. Start session. Okay. Start session, and then target is my instance ID, or actually not the instance ID, the managed instance ID. So if I copy and paste, I think this should work. I have not installed the Session Manager plugin, so you need a plugin. But yeah, basically you can do it. Yeah, you can do port forwarding from the CLI. Yeah, so that just works. But I have not installed my Session Manager right now on my Windows machine, but you can basically do that. And this is something I actually planned because I'm gonna go away for vacation, and I want to still be able to control some of the aspects of my home, like the smart house and all that stuff. So instead of giving my home assistant access to the internet, I can actually connect to it through the lovely um, systems manager, session manager, and do stuff with it.
Awesome.
All right.
And we have an astute viewer over here that just pointed out that Quibus can't spell.
Oh,
Yes,
third
nothing
day.
new there.
Third day.
Third day, yes. Third day. Thank you very much for pointing that out. I would not have seen this. And we've now been on how many streams? So here we go. And okay. I will fix this a bit later. I am not a graphic designer by any stretch of the imagination, but this at least has the Thursday spelled correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah, but thank you for pointing that out. We've got a couple of questions over here. The first one just following up from the last one around the app. I was about to say app sync because I just Googled it in the background. And the answer there is that yes, you can. What you can do is you can set up app sync to actually connect to your Neptune database and run queries for you that way, and then connect your app sync to your actual Amplify app that you're busy building. That unfortunately is the only app answer that I have for you at the moment. What I'll do is I will go ask and see if we can find a solution for this. The next question, iPad with Cloud9. I mean, I think the typical pros and cons here would be being able to type fast enough and use like click on it in the iPad. And the iPad screen is a little bit small, but other than that, there's nothing stopping you from it.
Yeah, I've been on events where people would use iPads for Cloud9, and that works perfectly. I see no problem. The only thing is like you need a keyboard for it. my advice: get a keyboard, don't type on screen. But otherwise,
I've seen someone using this on the inbuilt browser on the screen in a Tesla.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, well, the person wasn't driving, but they were editing code while in the car. Cool. Cool. Next question. This is a fun one. Bitbucket's pipeline. Where does code build fit into the CI pipeline? Some of the features we're looking for are good queuing mechanisms, good state management of the different environments, good integration with Bitbucket, Jira, Slack, and good test reporting. Docker and document building. No, it's not broad. So yes, you're on the right track. Look at code build, code pipeline. I would definitely give those a go.
So build does basically Docker and Docker. So yeah.
Yeah, it's literally a checkbox when you create the code build job. And then you can set up the pipelines to run things in parallel, do lots of different things and deploy for you. Good queuing mechanism. So I know where that question is coming from is like, I think you're limited by the number of concurrent builds you can do in with Bitbucket pipelines. Just please confirm that for us. But with code build, there are obviously account level limits. I don't know offhand what they are, but I've never actually run into them. So I'm assuming number of parallel builds can be quite high. Because effectively code build spins up a container that you either build yourself or use one of the pre-built ones and then run whatever you want inside as your build command. And you have a code build job per repo or app that you're running, and it runs on its own. It's per second billing, so it comes up, runs, and then goes down again. I think last time I checked, the standard build instance is 5 cents an hour for running, I believe. It's something like that. It's like you don't really notice the cost unless you're like building hours and hours and even then it's like a few dollars. So we're getting the problem is that Bitbucket doesn't limit concurrent builds. Yes. Okay, now we're getting to the thing. So yes, go look at code pipeline. There are some very, very interesting ways that you can manage what does it do when it has multiple builds queued? Does it deploy them one by one, or does it go and say, there were 3 others, let me skip those 3 and just deploy the third one? So you've got control over that. So definitely go look at the code pipeline configuration for that. You can do that. It's an interesting. That feature comes from our internal way that we think about deployments and things, because that is something that comes up. Do you do incremental deploys one, or do you say, okay, let's bundle these together and go forward? And how do you handle that then?
Yeah. Mind you, the services we build for consuming like code build and code deploy and all those things, code pipeline, they're made from internal services. So we have an internal platform for deploying code called Apollo, and basically we took all the experience and all the knowledge we have for building internal tooling and made them into AWS services. So of course, if something is missing, just let us know, and we would be happy to kind of contribute more to it and try to make it better. And you'll see Cobus and myself talk a lot about these services, and developer experience is very important.
And with that, I want to because I need to get into the habit of saying thank you very much and getting off the air because it is 30 seconds until we are done. And from next week, thanks to Daylight Savings, we will be back to back with the Benelux office hours. So what will happen then is that on the hour, we will quickly shut down and then you'll hop. Then so on, our colleague based in Amsterdam will come online and do the exact same thing, but just focus on Benelux. But please, you can hang around, you can join a session. It'll just be a quick switch over. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye and try and do it on the hour and hit the end broadcast button. So thank you very much for joining.
All.
Bye.
Bye.